Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? I have a pretty big mouth, so it's usually not a problem. Ask one of my 4 children. So, thank you so much for inviting me here to speak today. Oh, it's warming up. It hasn't had its coffee yet. So, before we get started, the first thing I'd like you guys to do is look at the person on your right and say, "You're a rock star." Look at the person on your left and say, "You are amazing." And now look at people in front and behind you and say, "You're not alone." One of the biggest challenges that gets faced in the older adult community is the feeling of being alone. And that is only compounded when they have a progressive diagnosis, such as Parkinson's, MS, they're a stroke survivor, they have certain cancers. They start to feel very isolated and very alone. And at Benefitness, we like to prove that that's just not true. In addition to that, you guys are out there, and thank you, by the way, for your service from my heart. You guys are out there looking out for and taking care of others. We've got to fill our own cup first, right? Before we can care for others. So this is not just for those in our community that have Parkinson's and MS and all those conditions that I mentioned, but this is also for you, the providers of care. So how many of you guys are familiar, and raise your hand nice and tall, if you're familiar with Benevilla? So the vast majority. Benevilla, we're right down the road off of Greasewood and Bell, and we provide such amazing services for the older adult community, and we also have a preschool on campus. I call them the Littles, and I've got to tell you guys, the City of Surprise has a little garden behind the campus, and the Littles go out there, and they've got their little aprons and their little shovel, and they come back. They might have a single radish in their bag, but man, are they proud of that radish. So I digress. But Benefitness is the newest addition to the Benevilla team, and we've been around now for just about 2 years. How many of you guys remember Bert's Bistro? So that is where I am. I am inside Bert's Bistro. Unfortunately, Bert's Bistro didn't survive the pandemic. So Benevilla put together a task force, the executive leadership team, and the board of directors, which, by the way, one of which is Bert from Bert's Bistro. And they did a community needs assessment, and it was what was addressed is what is needed in the West Valley. And it came back hands down adaptive fitness. Now I have a question for you guys. First of all, who wants to define to me what's fitness? Okay. So what does fitness mean to you? So I hear it's not old age. I'm going to debunk that. What is it? Be robust, take care of yourself, mobility, getting around, right? One of my favorite sayings is motion is lotion for the body. Motion is medicine. Okay, what else is fitness? Mental fitness, absolutely a huge component of that. Any other ideas what's fitness? Having some agility, right? Movement. Okay, so now I'm gonna complicate this question. You're like, oh great. I didn't know there was did you not tell them there was a quiz? Pop quiz. What's adaptive fitness? A modified way of performing, fitting into a person's abilities, right? So that being said, this is a picture of one of our classrooms, and you can see, so this gentleman over here, right here on the end, when I first met him, so he has, I have his permission to share his information. He has Parkinson's, and he has a bilateral deep brain stimulator, so one on each side. He was wheelchair bound and barely audible when I met him. As you can see, he's sitting there with his cane. He was walking in and out with a cane. Okay. Um, All of these individuals, this individual here also has Parkinson's, a retired anesthesiologist. And we met him in his early stages of Parkinson's. He now works out at Benefitness 3 to 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours at a time. This is his new job. Up on the mezzanine, you'll see the two ladies up there. So I developed a caregiver retreat area. The vast majority of our members that come to Benefitness are accompanied with a caregiver. So I didn't want to forget about the caregivers. That caregiving is very near and dear to my heart. One of my 4 children has special needs. So I've got 28 years of on-the-job experience and training on what it means to be a caregiver. So we have specialized areas for the caregivers. So we serve the community, those with different abilities, special considerations, and chronic medical. So another group that we serve is, so there's a support group that it's for ambiguous loss. So they've either lost a loved one recently or it's coming soon. And so some of our members, this gives them that socialization for the mental health that they really need. Did you know that 60% of caregivers pass away before their loved one? Yeah. My master's thesis was on the effects of stress for caregivers. All right, so who are our members? It's everyday community members. So we have people that are in wheelchairs. We have individuals with walkers. I love this picture. I have a grand puppy named Winston. That looks like Winston. We have individuals who, on the surface, you might not recognize that they have Parkinson's or MS. They're in those early stages. So we have classes that are specifically designed for individuals with these conditions. How many of you guys, by a raise of hands, have heard of Rock Steady Boxing? What is Rock Steady Boxing? So one person. Okay, so a couple of you guys, you've seen it at Benevilla. Rock Steady Boxing was developed in 2006 by an attorney in Indianapolis who was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And he didn't feel that there were any options for him, any specific fitness options for him. So he got together with some fitness folks and they developed Rock Steady Boxing. Rock Steady Boxing is a non-contact boxing inspired workout that has proven, there's empirical evidence that proves that it not only slows the progression of Parkinson's, but it also reduces the day-to-day symptoms. And essentially, the exercise, what science proves, what the medical evidence proves, is that the neurosensory stimulus from the exercises is what quiets those symptoms. We'll see individuals walk in with their essential tremors that day are pretty significant, and by the time they walk out of class, their tremors have significantly abated. We have one gentleman who could not even button his shirt that now has no problem with that at all. At all. We also recently have added, it's called the Smart Glove. So it's the NeoFX Smart Glove. And it's this microphone weighs more than that glove does. And it sits on top of the hand. And you can work interactively with gameplay. It works with a device, it's kind of like the Nintendo Wii, if I were to give you a comparison. And it works on wrist, hand, and elbow and shoulder mobility. This is very significant for individuals that have had a stroke. It's significant for individuals that have certain cancers. It's significant for individuals that have MS or Parkinson's. Pretty much anybody that has single side deficit. Interestingly, I experimented yesterday. I had an individual there that has dementia, and so we put on the game, and the game that is played, it's a basic math game. So 8 plus 4 is 16. No. So you have to turn the hand. No. 8 plus 4 is 12. Yes, thumbs up. So it requires that brain to hand motion so that they have to cognitively engage. It's pretty exciting. The sessions are 1 hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and it's just one-on-one. So there's no group class. That said, our business model is set up, we either do group classes or one-on-one training. It's not like a Mountainside or EOS where you kind of go and do your own thing and leave. Our business model is set up so that every person there is being observed by a nationally certified coach. All of our coaches have a minimum of a national certification. Some have degrees. This little device right here looks kind of like a weird bathroom scale, right? So what the heck is this? So a bioimpedance analysis device. What it tells me, this thing is amazing. So it'll tell me body composition, and I'm going to circle back to that. I can tell how much inflammation you have going on. I can tell your cardiac risk and your basal metabolic rate. So if I'm going to circle back to the body composition, why is that important as we age? What I worry about when people age is sarcopenia or muscle loss. So if I'm training a bodybuilder, they want to know how much muscle mass they have versus their lean tissue. In my spectrum, on the clinical side, I want to know how much muscle you have, because as you start to lose muscle, that elevates risk of other diseases, osteopenia, osteoporosis, and it will also tell me the nature of your progressive disease. So for example, if I have somebody that has MS or Parkinson's, this device allows me to quadrant the body. So I can see how much muscle you have on your right side versus your left side. So if you have single side deficit, I can manage the progression of that. Okay, I can collect those subsets of data. The inflammation. So a quickie on that one. Out of the trillions of cells that make up your body, I want you to imagine if they're grapes or raisins. Okay, so we want optimally about 70% grapes and 30% raisins. So if I scratch my arm and I see some little flakies come off, I just lost some raisins. Okay, so some of that's normal. But when we have too many raisins and not enough grapes, that tells me something about your inflammatory state, aches and pains. So I can literally use that to manage your aches and pains, how you sleep at night, that mobility through the day. Cardiac risk analysis. What it tells me there, we have two basic kinds of fat. We have subcutaneous fat, that's our pinch the inch fat, and then we have our visceral fat. Visceral fat, so when you go to the store and you buy a pot roast and it has a lot of marbling, that's visceral fat. That's heart attack fat. That's the fat we worry about more than that, surfacey fat. Basal metabolic rate. This tells me calorically what you should be consuming every single day so that you don't lose muscle. Okay? That silly little scan, it takes 2 minutes. Individual that has a pacemaker or a cardiac loop has to get clearance from their doctor prior to getting that scan because it can interrupt the cardiac wave. DBSs are fine. It is a different wave. So with a cardiac loop or a pacemaker, it has to do with the polarization and depolarization of the heart, where a DBS is completely different. As I mentioned earlier, we have a specific space for caregivers. It's a place to relax and unwind, develop connections. We have a group of caregivers that have formed their own support group, and they bring thermoses of coffee. Sometimes they'll bring a little snack, and they connect. And so that little thing that I had you guys do at the very beginning, they need to know that they're not alone either. And part of that is practicing self-care. Coming soon to Benefitness, and when I say soon, I mean by the first of the year, is assisted stretch. How many of you guys have ever had an assisted stretch therapy session? If you want the best sleep ever, no kidding, because what we work on is deep tissue elongation and joint range of motion. We get very bound up. Okay, so tell me if this is either you or someone you know. Okay? So what's going on here biomechanically? It tells me that the muscles around my knees are too tight, my hips are too tight, my core is too tight, my chest and front side of my body is too tight. So if I can get in there and manipulate some of those muscles, it's going to free up circulation. It's going to promote circulation. It's going to promote joint range of motion. It's going to help your body with that inflammatory process. It improves your balance. Is that true or true? It's a whole lot of true. Does that reduce pain? Sure. So imagine this. There's 3 ways to divide your body in half. Right from left, front from back, and top from bottom. Can you further imagine that there's a place that those 3 lines intersect? Right about in here. What a coinky dink, your low back is right there. So we have these muscles on the top of the glutes and in the low back that when I'm here, all that takes the torque. Okay? Basic physics, right? Basic biomechanics. So if I can get you straightened up a little bit, less aches and pains, better mobility, better balance. And that is also conducted in a one-on-one session. All right, and if you guys need more information, we are at 16752 North Greasewood Street. And we love this Teddy Roosevelt saying that if you believe you can, you're already halfway there. So what questions can I answer for you guys? And I have some class schedules and a basic information as well as my card on that back table. Yes. So thank you for asking. So our cost is a tiered system. So every prospective member first does a clinical analysis with me, and it takes me about an hour to get through that comprehensive analysis, and that's $99. After that, if you attend once per week, it's $64 for the month. Twice a week is $104, and unlimited is $155. And if we break that $155 down per session, that's less than $8 a session. So, and that is our classroom size. In the Rocksteady boxing room, a big class is 8 people. Most of our boxing classes are 6 people. They're smaller by design. In our main room, the classes range from 10 to 15 people. And again, that is intentional and by design. So thank you for asking that question. We accept Silver and Fit. We are exploring other, we also accept Active and Fit. We are exploring Silver sneakers as we speak, waiting to hear back from them. Yes. 18 and over. So my youngest member currently is in her 30s, and I can brag about her too. When I met her, she's a stroke survivor, and when I met her, she had complete single side deficit, and we call it drag foot. So she was unable to lift up her foot. The stairs that you guys saw that go up to that mezzanine, she can carry a kettlebell up those stairs now. Yeah, no kidding. It's truly jaw-dropping what we see. Our oldest member is 98. And he's a pip. Let me tell you, love that guy. Yes. Some doctors' offices do. And to answer that question, I think more efficiently, my undergrad and my path has been more toward holistic medicine and naturopathic medicine. Um, so my education path is complementary and alternative medicine, health and wellness psychology, exercise science. Thank you. So it's just a little bit different approach. Some doctors' offices are getting a little bit more progressive, though those units are not cheap, so that's a consideration as well. Yes. Unfortunately, we do not offer transportation. I wish that we did. We do have several members that go from our life enrichment programs over to volunteers would be amazing. And speaking of volunteers, we welcome volunteers in the classroom. We have one gentleman who is a retired boxing referee, a professional boxing referee, knew Mike Tyson when he was like 15. And he comes in and helps us out in in the boxing room. Fun fact about boxing. Okay. Mike Tyson lost his first professional bout to Buster Douglas on February 11th, 1990. How the heck do I know that? I had my first child that night, and we had a party at our house. What other questions can I answer for you guys? All right. So if you guys need additional, I want to be a good steward of your time this morning. If you guys have additional information, I do have some class schedules on the back table. Our first class of the day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Bless you. And then our last class of the day starts at 1 p.m. It's just been our discovery that after that time, especially individuals that have compromised conditions, the later we get in the day, it's usually very difficult for those attendees. Um, our classes range from stretch and range of motion, total body conditioning, strength and core work. We do functional movement. What's functional movement? It helps you with your activities of daily living. The young gal that had the stroke, she came in one day just in tears, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? She said, I was able to shave my legs without my mom's help. So it's those little things that we take for granted every day. So if you guys have additional questions, I'll hang out in the back. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today, and have a blessed Thanksgiving. Thank you.